to Vacation Station, hosted by Lisa and Nancy, editors of BigBlendMagazines.com.
Well, on this show, we're going wild. We're getting cultured, and we're going to have some movie magic. How about that?
Awesome.
Yeah. Our travel, food, and wine writer and photographer Melanie Votal is joining us to talk about her wildlife and birding adventures in Ecuador and Galapagos. Seriously, we are so
cool.
jealous, it's not even funny. She saw so many, all kinds of birds and critters and snakes.
I love it.
All kinds of iguanas.
I like the anaconda. I say
that
so
anaconda.
Big. It's so whoa.
But it was 16 days and also pretty luxurious the majority of the places she stayed too. And I mean, you're getting your own private guide to take you around to see hummingbirds and birds. And I mean, come on now, canoes.
I mean, seriously jealous.
Seriously, Melanie. Anyway, she is joining us. She is an award-winning author of over 28 nonfiction books, and she's a publisher of TripOutOnTravel.com, and she's a member of the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association. That means it is the second Friday of the month, and that's what we do. The second Friday of the month, the first segment of our Food, Wine, Travel show is dedicated to a member of the International Food, Wine, Travel Writers Association. We love it. We get stories from around the world, really.
I know.
It's amazing.
Exciting.
So exciting to have her on the show. Another international food, wine, travel writer is joining us, Debbie Stone. She's a regular here at Big Blend Radio in our magazines. She's going to talk about her experience in Oxford, Mississippi. Known for its rich history, small-town charm, and creative community, it is touted as the cultural mecca of the South. We're talking William Faulkner, John Grisham stuff, all kinds of art events.
Cool.
Old Miss and the university. Yeah. I'm hoping we're going to stop by Oxford on our way up to Kentucky this year. It's right off the Natchez Trails. I got stuck in the Atlas last night.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. And
How'd
I'm
you get out?
I fell asleep in it, actually, and then I drooled, and now we can't see the maps. But anyway, why did you have to ask that?
I think that's why we get lost.
I know. That's what happens. And then we're going to go south down the Mississippi River to Natchitoches, Louisiana. And Natchitoches is Louisiana's oldest city, oldest settlement, and it's celebrating the 30-year anniversary of the filming of Steel Magnolias this year. In fact, they have their own film trail. And this year is the first annual Cane River Film Festival. So we've got an interview. I sat down and had a conversation with Catherine Johnson from the Natchitoches Area Convention and Visitor Bureau, and also Kelly Jackson, who has started this Cane River Film Festival. They're going to talk about the region's movie-making history, the Natchitoches Film Trail that you can follow, and you can go to the actual house where Steel Magnolias was filmed is actually a bed and breakfast you can stay in.
That's where I live.
Really? Hey, really? But they've got all these events, R&B jazz festivals and art festivals happening, so a lot happening in Natchitoches. That's one thing I'm telling you Natchitoches likes to do is celebrate anything. This weekend is Mardi Gras, too. So,
Yahoo!
I know, tomorrow it starts. So
wow.
Yeah.
That came up quick.
Toss those beads, Sally.
Yeah.
But anyhow, so there's a lot going on over there. And then I thought, hey, why not re-air Steve Schneiker's Hollywood History segment on Louisiana? Not only Natchitoches is in there, but also Winfield and some other areas, Winfield, Louisiana, that is known for Huey Long, all the politicking going up there and stomping and his wonderful affair with Blaze and that movie that was made from that story. So lots happening on today's show. Happy Friday, everybody. It's February 9th, and the really good thing about today, it's National Pizza Day. You cannot go wrong with pizza.
And it's a Friday.
Friday pizza, that means beer, margaritas, wine.
Yeah.
Anything can happen. Music, it's good. It's a good day. You're listening to Big Blend Radio's Vacation Station Food, Wine, and Travel Show, and it airs live every second Friday. We're streaming live from a sunny Tucson, Arizona, and we're your hosts, Nancy Reed and Lisa Smith, the Crazy Mother-Daughter Travel Team and publishers of 2 digital interactive magazines. Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine is our variety publication. Check it out at blendradioandtv.com. And we also have Parks and Travel Magazine, which covers, guess what? It's a test.
Parks and maybe some travel?
I think travel's in there.
Do you think parks?
Hiking, history, all that good stuff's in there. So check it out at nationalparktraveling.com. All right, so are you ready to hear all about beautiful Ecuador, Nancy? I know I am. Stay tuned, everybody. This is going to be a cool conversation, even though I'm completely jealous. travel writer and photographer Melanie Votaw is joining us on today's Big Blend radio show to talk about her amazing, incredible bird and wildlife watching adventures in Ecuador that we're really jealous about. And, Ecuador, reading her article about this, I didn't know this, happens to be among the top 10 most biodiverse countries in the world.
Wow.
And biodiversity is my favorite word in the whole wide world, so this is exciting. She visited 3 regions of Ecuador, so including the Galapagos, right, for a pretty much luxurious 16-day wildlife extravaganza. She saw giant sea turtles, iguanas, frigate birds, in their big red puffed-up chests glory, Galapagos hawks, all kinds of hummingbirds, toucans, squirrel monkeys, stinky vultures, yes,
Okay.
you heard me, and even a pygmy marmoset.
Oh,
A little teeny
so
little marmoset. So Melanie is an award-winning author of over 28 nonfiction books. She's the publisher of TripOutOnTravel.com. Definitely keep up with her on social media through there. And she's a member of the International Food, Wine, and Travel Writers Association. Check out that organization if you're a writer, photographer. If you're in the marketing section of destinations, go to ifwtwa.org. And Melanie's article on her wildlife adventure in Ecuador will be featured in the April-May issue of our Parks and Travel magazine. If you want to follow along and have a look at her photos, go to nationalparktraveling.com and just type in Ecuador in the search box, and you'll find it. So, Melanie, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you. I'm good. How are you?
We're just sitting here green with envy. I'm sorry, I know that is not a becoming or ladylike thing to do, but, when someone goes on a 16-day trip through Ecuador and sees hummingbirds and gets out on the water, has their own private guide, like, come on now.
It was a dream. It really was. It was just a dream.
Wow.
And, you were talking about how biodiverse Ecuador is. I mean, Ecuador is wonderful. I just love the country. And it's smaller than the state of Nevada. I mean, how is that possible that it's that biodiverse? And it's smaller than the state of Nevada. That just blows my mind.
Wow. A lot of times that biodiversity, we just did a whole interview with Pinnacles National Park about this. This biodiversity really only happens once an area is truly protected. And so was there a lot of restrictions when you were traveling around?
Absolutely. I mean, not in other parts of the country so much, but definitely in the Galapagos. They really do monitor it. I know they've had some problems with travelers not being as respectful as they should, but our guide would make a stop occasionally. We would be on an island walking, and he would say, we have to stop because there's another group over there, and they're running behind on their time, and we can't meet up with them because then there would be too many of us in a particular area.
Oh, wow.
And the government actually dictates which island you go to and when. They dictate what the itinerary of your boat is going to be. So, I mean, that's planned ahead, but still, it's not like boats can just go wherever they want. And it's so great that they do that. It's so important that they do that.
well, yeah. I mean, that's a major dollar maker for them. If they mess it up, they lose a lot of revenue. I mean, it's true, and people sometimes forget that tourism is one of the major industries in the world, and protecting, I mean, we all want to protect it anyway, just because it should be protected, but there's an incentive with money as well.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, and if those animals suddenly become afraid, then it becomes an entirely different place, because the big draw is that the animals don't care that you're there. I mean, they just absolutely do not care that you're standing there.
That's so
I mean, the mockingbirds come right up and peck at your toes.
That's cool.
That's cool.
It's unbelievable. They just come up and look at you like, hello.
Oh, cool. Cool. Because I know you've traveled to, almost 50 countries. You've been to 6 continents. I mean, this is pretty intense. Like, did you start doing this at a young age, and is it mostly on the, nature side of things?
No,
or luxury too.
Well, yeah, the luxury thing is primarily because that's what the outlets that I write for want. And so that's been kind of nice. It's like, because when I was traveling on my own before I did travel writing, I certainly wasn't staying in luxury places so much. But it's funny because I grew up watching all those wildlife shows, and my parents were quite afraid of that kind of stuff. And then at some point, something shifted in me in adulthood, and I discovered I can actually go to these places. I don't have to just watch it on TV. I can actually go there. Mm-hmm. And that's just been such an amazing change in my life. Mm-hmm. So I didn't start as a kid at all. I've always loved animals, but it was really in maybe my late 20s, early 30s when I started noticing that I could actually go to places and see animals close up, and I just got completely hooked on it.
Yeah. Well, Galapagos, I mean, that is a dream. In Ecuador, you really open my eyes to the rest of the area. I never even thought about the Amazon and the Andes being connected. I'm like, duh. So thank you for that. It's like wakey.
Well, yeah. Yeah, the fact that it has all of those things is one of the reasons why it's so biodiverse. And also I think because it's right on the equator has a lot to do with it, because the climate is such that, the climate's pretty stable because of that, because of being on the equator. So
now, yeah. You went on like a luxury kind of cruise going on. Like you went on the Sea Star, like this catamaran, and so like you're like sipping cocktails and watching birds and floating in sunset. Like seriously,
Poor you.
I know. I can't stand it.
So bad for you.
Oh my God.
Oh, it was just torture. I can't tell you. It was just torture. Yeah, Latin Trails is a wonderful company that has. They have 2 catamarans, and ours was a catamaran yacht. So I think it only houses 16 guests, and then a crew of almost a dozen. So you're almost 1-to-1 crew-wise, which means you are so pampered, so incredibly pampered. And the food is wonderful and beautiful, large staterooms. Ours had a balcony, even where we could actually sit on the balcony. But it was just wonderful. And each evening, we would have. Our guide would give us a briefing on what we were going to see the next day and what island or islands we were going to visit. Sometimes we would go to more than one. And after breakfast, we would all pile into 2 dinghies, and they'd take us to the island. Sometimes we'd have a wet landing. Sometimes we'd have a dry landing. Wet landing would basically just mean we'd have to walk through a little bit of water up to the ankles. That was it. And and we would hike on these islands. And then I'm not a water person. That's the one thing. I don't snorkel and I don't dive. But there was a lot of snorkeling. And the people who did it told me it was some of the most spectacular snorkeling they've ever experienced in their lives. They've got whale sharks there.
Cool.
Those gigantic whale sharks, and that are very, very nice. They're very nice sharks. They're not the kind that are going to attack you.
They're
very sweet.
Giants.
Yeah.
Exactly, very gentle. And you can actually snorkel with baby seals there.
Wow.
Which just has to be divine. But the hiking at times was a little bit challenging, but not too bad. It's volcanic, the Galapagos. So there are rocks. It's not a lot of climbing, but you have to step over rocks. And I had a walking stick with me, which just helped me feel a little more secure.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it was quite easy. We had some people in their 70s with us, and they were fine. And you just walk around, and there are just animals everywhere.
That's so exciting. And the iguanas, I just keep seeing, that David Attenborough show of the iguanas and all the snakes coming after the babies. Like, that's freaky. That is the freakiest thing I've ever seen. I don't know if you've seen that, but check it out. Just Google iguanas and snakes. No, like, you probably wouldn't go to Galapagos if you saw it.
It wasn't the Galapagos, was it?
Yeah, I think it was. I think
it was in the Galapagos?
What do I know? Maybe I'm wrong, but I'll Google it while we're talking. But the iguanas are so cool, aren't they? To have those bright colors on them like that.
Yeah, they are, and you see 2 different kinds. The marine iguanas are black and red, and then the land iguanas can be bright yellow. So they're very different, and it depends on what island you are, which kind you see. I think we only visited one island that had both. which I was surprised about. But it had both the marine iguanas and the land iguanas, and occasionally we would see the iguanas walk out toward the shore and then go for a swim, which I'd never seen before.
Yeah.
You also see dead ones, I have to say.
Oh, yeah, that happens in nature. Maybe it was the snakes.
No, this is the thing. In the Galapagos, they really don't have predators. That's why I think what you saw was not in the Galapagos, because there's very little predation there. That's one of the reasons why the animals are so tame and so calm. There's very little predation. So we would see basically dried bodies of iguanas who had just died of natural causes and then had been dried by the sun.
Wow,
this is fascinating. This is really...
I'd never seen anything like it. It was just...
That's unusual, you know. Other places you kind of see things being recycled, if I could put it that way.
Yeah,
other animals.
Like Africa, you see big kills and things like that. But no, not in Galapagos. Galapagos was of all the places that I've visited, and as you mentioned, I've been a lot of places around the world, never seen anything like the Galapagos. Totally unique place, both from the animal life and the plant life, just the way it looks. It's just so different. Yeah.
I found the snakes. Oh. Okay, it was BBC's Planet Earth 2.
There are Fernandina Island in Galapagos. Do you know where that was? Did you go to that island?
We did not go to that island, but I'm surprised that happens. We didn't see any snakes at all. I know that there are some. So apparently there is some predation there, but there isn't a lot. But that's fascinating. It probably only happens... Well, it would only happen during breeding season, but that's interesting. Yeah.
So tell us about those hawks. I mean, as a birder, to be able to see that kind of bird life had to be like absolutely amazing to be able to see.
Well, they're gorgeous, and they were just, again, they just didn't care that we were there. A sea lion had just had a baby, and the little one was there. They weren't after the baby, but there was a little pile of afterbirth. Not a very pleasant sight, I have to tell you, but, it's nature, and there's a little pile of afterbirth, and those hawks wanted that afterbirth. They wanted to eat it for the nutrients, and they were waiting for Mama to step away or move away from the afterbirth. So they were hanging around on the ground, and also in the trees up above. And there aren't that many trees, really. It's fairly sparse. But they were right there, and again, just didn't care that we were there. So it was so easy to get photographs of them. I mean, honestly, you have to really work hard to not get good photos in the Galapagos, because the animals are right there, like I said, in front of you. So
but the cactus and all looks odd to me.
Yeah.
Like how you're an island. You're not supposed
I know. I wasn't expecting that either. I was like, there's cacti here.
Yeah.
How weird. Yeah. And then there'd be a palm tree not far away from the cactus. Yeah, it's really, really...
So bizarre.
Very bizarre.
And so when you had this beautiful experience in Galapagos, and then you went to Coca, right? You left the Galapagos and then you flew into Coca. Now, what kind of plane was this? I have to ask.
Well, I flew from Quito. I had to go. Everything originates in Quito, so you have to go back there. And it's it's a fairly small plane, but it's not that small. I mean, it's an airline, so it's not too bad. And there are a lot of people going there. A lot of people going to the Amazon to go to these lodges. There are several lodges there. So, we got picked up at the airport. We got driven to the office of La Selva Lodge, where I stayed. And then they put you on a motorized canoe, which holds a lot of people. It's a fairly large canoe. Has a roof. It was pouring down rain, though. They gave us these ponchos, but there was no way to not get wet. But it's a rainforest. You're going to get wet. You know, if you don't want to get wet, don't go to a rainforest.
Yeah.
And then we came to a landing after about 2.5 hours on the canoe. We came to a landing, and we got with our guides. Everybody has different guides. I got to have a private guide, mainly because of the birding. I was the only birder there at the time, so he and another local guide who mostly took care of the canoeing put us on a paddle canoe, and for another half an hour or so, we birded all the way to the lodge.
Wow, this is so cool. So now this is where you got to play with stinky turkeys. They call them vultures here.
The stinky turkeys, they're actually called Hoatzins. They're very common in this part of the Amazon, and I had been to the Amazon in Brazil and Peru before, but I had never seen a Hoatzin. So I was really excited to see them. But the locals eat them.
Oh.
They taste like turkeys, but apparently they smell. I did not smell them. I guess I didn't get close enough to smell them, but they're quite beautiful. They're kind of a rusty orange color, and they have a crest on the back of their head, and they have blue around their eyes, and they're large. They're a good, probably more than a foot tall. So they're really big birds, and they tend to stay in areas where you can see them very easily, which is nice because that's the difference between going from the Galapagos to the Amazon. Suddenly in the Amazon, you've got dense forest, and you've got to work sometimes to see animals.
Yeah.
I felt spoiled after the Galapagos,
Yeah, because they didn't. You said the cat there's no leaves, because it's like being in a well, it's like being out here in Tucson in the desert with our saguaro cactus.
Yeah, there's no place for the animals to really hide,
Yeah. So over there you've got a really spy, and you said you make sure you have binoculars. Did your guide help you learn how to? Because every animal has its hiding place, and they're so good at camouflage. It's really one of my favorite things about observing nature. It is like this challenge. Can you look at the just look at you've got all those chameleons and things like that in places too, and you're like, how do you know?
Well, you don't. That's why the guide is imperative. And these guides are amazing. My guide in the Amazon at La Selva Lodge was Rodrigo, and he grew up in the Amazon. He called himself 100% jungle boy. But he had to work to learn the birds. He spent a couple of years learning the birds, learning where they are, and the other animals. And we were walking at one point in this very dense area where there were vines on the ground, and you had to lift your feet up, and my toes kept getting caught in the vines. And all of a sudden, he found a nighthawk in the sand on the ground, a baby nighthawk. So we're talking about a bird that was about 5 or 6 inches, and it was asleep on the ground. I'm so glad he spotted it and we didn't step on it, because I was just like, I was terrified once I saw it. That somebody's going to step on it. But it was in the sand and the same color as the sand.
Wow.
And he spotted it. It was a remarkable thing to see.
And the bird just stays there, is not scared as well, like at the Galapagos?
Well, this one wasn't. He was asleep, and he didn't seem to notice we were there.
Wow. We have that happen out here on some of our walks in the morning, and I think they're night jars at certain times of the year.
Yeah, which are similar to nighthawks, yeah.
Yeah, they make interesting sounds. And then now, all the doves are, getting into their nesting mode, and they will go to the ground for warmth, I think it is, in the early mornings when we walk out. And it's really it's fascinating, Do you take a bird list with you, or do you keep that life list thing?
I do have a life list. I do. But at these lodges, when you're with a birding guide, they have a list of the birds that you might see, and you mark it off every day, what you've seen. It's very important to birders. Birders are very precise people. I'm not quite that fanatical about it, but I do like to keep my list. It's been fun and I have over 1,000 species on my list now, which is
that's cool.
Pretty good.
That is cool. I think, and you got to see like toucans and things on this trip. Like I've never seen a toucan in the wild.
Oh, they're wonderful. Yeah, and parrots. We went to a clay lick where the parrots hang off the side of a cliff and eat the clay, and there's just hundreds of them. It's a very noisy experience, but very colorful. Very colorful. And the pygmy marmoset you mentioned, that was so exciting. Yeah. That was so exciting. I mean, it was far enough away that you definitely needed the binoculars for it. But it was on the side of a tree, and it was licking the sap off the tree, and it turned its head at some point, and I could see its tongue through my binoculars licking the sap. So adorable. Just amazing thing to see.
This is so exciting. This is the wonder of the world. Like when you get to see these places, it's just, that is like bucket list. You know, I call it living list. You know, like, do it while you can. And this is the thing too. I mean, you're seeing all this. You're out on canoe rides and things. I think it's so cool to be able to get out on the water, because then you're like with the animals, and you get to see the waterfowl that way. And I dig it. All the animals hanging on the edge of the river kind of deal. But you stayed at the Selva Lodge and Spa. So, like, you're in this remote jungle, and here you are playing la-di-da in a spa.
I know. It's amazing. My room was unbelievable. Again, I had a balcony with chairs and, you know, a bathrobe and slippers and the whole thing. And and yet you're in this very remote, wild place. And the food there was amazing. I did get a massage while I was there at the spa. And so, it's quite a remarkable thing. And, you know, we had hot water, we had electricity 24 hours.
Nice.
You walk right out your door, though, and there are the butterflies and the birds and the beautiful flowers.
Cool. Don't you feel like you're in a little magical haven? Like, could you live there? I mean, if someone said, hey, you get to live here for a couple years, would you do it?
Maybe. I might. Yeah, you know. I mean, it's very hot there. It's very hot. It is.
We used to the equator. We lived on the equator in Kenya.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm not good at the cold. I can't. We went from Kenya to England.
Yeah.
I know. And then we went from England to South Africa. And I remember, you know, it was like 8 or 9 years old. Yeah. And, you know, it was winter in England. And his big burly jacket, we get to South Africa, and I get off the plane, and it's like summer, and here's a heat wave. And I gave everybody my cookies. I came off the plane. I was like, hi, welcome to South Africa. Here I am. It was like the temperature change is such a, you know, a jolt. But, yeah, it is kind of did you have to go through, like, because I know you're back east, did you have like you went like in winter of 2017, did you have like a little jolt of temperature going from one to the other?
Coming back home, we had a real cold snap very shortly after I got back, and that was brutal. You know, because I had just spent over 2 weeks in pretty warm weather, and luckily the Andes was a little cooler. It was more like in the 50s. So that when I got there, I was like, okay, I'm feeling really cold now, but this is good preparation for when I get back home. It kind of helped me gradually acclimate back to, you know, but I got back here and it was like in the teens.
No. Okay, come visit us in Tucson.
I know. That's exactly when you want to get back on a plane again. But yeah.
So you went to this other reserve that went up 12,000 feet. Is it Yanacocha? Am I saying that right?
Yanacocha, yes, Yanacocha.
And Tanda Yaya Papa. I've been wanting to say this stuff all day long.
It's called Tandayapa.
Tandayapa.
Tiny little town of like, you know, 25 people, but they've built this lodge there because it's just the perfect place for birds. It's just a prime location, and but yeah, Yanacocha is basically just a mountain range, and we did. I don't know if it was actually in Yanacocha, but we went to a little restaurant and with amazing food. The Ecuadorians really know how to cook. Let me just tell you, they do this, I just have to, as an aside, they do this interesting thing where they make pureed soups and they garnish them with popcorn.
Oh, how weird.
They bring like a big bowl of popcorn to your table, and you grab it and you throw it in your soup.
Huh.
Cool.
Why not?
Yeah,
I
it's
know
kind of
people
cool.
who do that. I think that's cool to me.
Kind of like croutons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they probably
exactly.
have really good maize, like really good
Yeah.
corn, and it's going to be healthier, hopefully.
I need to try that.
Healthier than croutons. Yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, Yanacocha is mainly just they put feeders up, and you see the birds. They have they put bananas out, and then they put the hummingbird feeders out, and you see the sword-billed hummingbird there. Which the first time I had been there. I had been to that place before years ago, but the first time I saw one, I almost started hyperventilating. I was so excited.
I know how that gets.
Because the sword-billed hummingbird, the bill is so long that it can't sit without putting its bill up to the sky. Otherwise, it'll tip over. Its bill is longer than its body, so it's just this amazing little thing.
Was it 4.5 inches? That's think about that. That is like a big, and little hummingbirds, I find them to be the most fascinating little birds. I call them the seahorse of the desert because they remind me of seahorses, in a weird way. But they are they're intense.
They fight a lot.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, they waste so much energy fighting. Then of course they have to eat again because they've wasted it all fighting. Yeah, but they are fascinating. I actually wrote a book about them years ago about hummingbirds. Really? Yeah.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
cool.
I just adore them. They're fascinating creatures.
So what eats the banana?
Oh, all kinds of birds do.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, lots. They have lots of tanagers. Do you know the bird, the tanager family of birds? The Andes has tons of them, and some of them are the most colorful. There are, I don't know exactly how many species of tanagers there are, but there's probably like 300 and something. But some of them are just
beautiful,
gorgeous.
We get them out here.
Yeah.
In the summer, we get western and summer tanagers. And and I think once in a while there's like a scarlet tanager that comes through once in a while, if you're lucky, and it's like, oh, how did that happen?
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
They have some here, which blows my mind.
What are they?
Cardinals.
Oh, the cardinals. Yeah. We have them here back east.
They don't belong in the desert.
Yes, they do.
They're pretty widespread, but they're so beautiful. Yeah. So beautiful. Yeah, but they had some that were black with red, bright red bellies.
Ooh.
And then there's some with blues, and they'll have like a little blue and green and yellow all on one bird. It's just like, oh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, this is so amazing. What, when you look at that whole experience, that 16 days, what was like something that really blew your mind that you've always wanted to see when it comes to animals or the culture? What was like the most amazing, like, oh my God moment?
The most amazing thing for me, the thing that I wanted to see the most, was that frigate bird with his red throat expanded. That's what I wanted to see. And it was toward the end of the cruise where we got to see it. I was starting to get worried. And we went to this little island that had frigate bird nests all over the place.
Wow.
And we saw several of the males doing that. Their wings outspread, and those frigate birds, their wings, they look like pterodactyls. Their wings are kind of in a V. They kind of point up in the center. Yeah. And they're so prehistoric looking. And they were just standing there like, oh, look at me, look at my red throat, look how beautiful I am, don't you want me, lady? And it was just magnificent.
That is so cool. I love them because how they puff up like that. And you took some incredible photos, by the way. You're a fantastic photographer, and birds are not easy.
Well, like I said, in the Galapagos, your friends will love your photos.
Yeah.
It's really easy to get pictures of them there. It just is. But it does help to have a long lens because there are times where you can't get as close. I mean, they want you to stay 6 meters away, but sometimes the animals come closer to you. So, it's but it does help to have the long lens. It does. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The frigate birds, that red on them, that's not feathers, is it? Isn't it like that skinny sack thingy?
Yeah, it's not. I think it's more like a rooster kind of. The red on because we actually had a couple of the males light on the top of our boat. They landed on the top of our boat, and from the top deck we could just lean over the railing a little bit and see them quite close, and they weren't expanded, so I got a really close-up view of that throat, and it's kind of a frilly thing, but it's not feathers. I'm not sure what it is exactly. Yeah, it's some kind of skin.
Yeah. It's like bullfrogs,
Yeah.
It's like that.
Yeah.
It's so weird.
Oh,
it's
man, I dig
totally weird.
See, this is where I think reptiles and birds are one. I know that they're not, but they are. And it's like in dinosaur times they were.
From
the
the
dinosaur thing. Yeah.
Dude, it's so cool.
It's totally a Charles Darwin thing.
See, that's the thing.
So
like, did you start reading Charles Darwin like when you knew you were going over there? Like,
I did not. I didn't have time, but I did go to a Darwin exhibit not too long ago, just a few years ago. I think it was at the Museum of Natural History here in New York, and so I had a bit of a background. And I think, as I said in my article, you can see it with those these finches that they have on the islands, because they have small, medium, and large, and wow. Good luck if you can figure out which are which.
I know how that is. I know. Do you have any tips for anyone going on this kind of adventure that you went on 16 days and you said binoculars are a must, and if you're into bird photography, get the long lens. Don't go there. Make sure you spend the money on that because
don't do the telephone thing.
Yeah, don't use your phone for telephoto lens on phones doesn't do it for those kinds of photos.
No, it's not enough. It's not good enough.
And you can rent a lens too. And
you can, or just get a really good point and shoot with a telephoto lens, because they're so good these days. They're so high quality that you can get by with that. You don't have to have a digital SLR like I do with interchangeable lenses, but just get something that allows you some telephoto ability beyond your phone, and but have the phone for video, because you're going to want to take some video. But I really do recommend. I mean, these cruises like I did, they are expensive. They are. Save your pennies, because it's a trip of a lifetime. It's totally worth it. And I think going that route with one of these small cruise lines where you don't have a lot of people is just really the way to do it.
I agree. I think there's a
and if you're going to do that, you're going to spend the money and the time doing it. Get a decent camera.
Yeah. Did you?
Yeah.
I mean,
really.
Cameras really, and you don't have to spend money on film and try and transport film through airports anymore. It's so cool now.
No, thank God, I know.
I mean, you can play Dropbox it right there,
Yeah.
I was going to ask, did you have to get any vaccinations to go there? It's like my favorite question. Did you get
Not at all
before you went? Okay, cool.
Not at
I'm
all.
going.
Did you get botfly?
No, don't start with the botfly thing. That's Costa Rica. A friend of ours.
There were no insects at all that bothered us. That was kind of an amazing thing. I don't remember seeing. We saw a great big cicada that was gorgeous. But other than that, there was only one place where I got bitten a little bit on a beach on my legs. But
probably just fleas.
Some kind of sand flea maybe. But other than that, it wasn't buggy. It was, the Amazon is a little buggy, but Galapagos not at all. And there was something else I was going to say, and it just left me.
I know that feeling.
Yeah.
You're talking about the cicadas and the insects not being there. Do you think it's because of the birds taking care of it a lot?
I really, that's a good question. I didn't ask that question, so I don't know the answer. I really am not sure why that is, but it's just such a unique place, and you really are remote. When you're on those islands, and it's such a cool feeling to be far removed from civilization.
Cool.
It really is.
And I want to tell everyone, go to Melanie's website, tripoutontravel.com. I love the name, by the way, and I love that you cover ecotourism. I think that's so important. It's an initiative Nancy and I are really behind and promote. because land and sea and rivers, that space for habitat is going away rapidly, and whatever we can do, and if you can see it at this kind of balance, and it's why Galapagos is so expensive, is you can't have the world there. It's not Disneyland for nature, yet it is, but not with crowds. And I love that they have that balance for nature there. So I'm going to be emailing you after the show for something on this.
Sure.
Got a plan in there, but
you got to go.
I was going to on ecotourism, but where is your next destination that you're going to write about? Because I was going through your website and you've been Yosemite and all these other areas. Where's your next place?
I think it's going to be Japan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Is that going to be more of a nature or a city or?
It will be more cultural.
Cool.
It will probably be more cultural. I'm very interested in the history and, the shrines and the temples. And also the wisteria. I'm hoping to go during wisteria season.
Oh my gosh, that would
see those wisteria tunnels, with the purple. Yeah.
Wisteria bathing. Who cares about forest bathing? We want wisteria bathing.
Forget the cherry blossoms. Bring me the wisteria.
Don't you find snow monkeys there?
You do at certain times of year, but wisteria season is not the right time of year. I've just found out. For
that sucks.
It kind of does.
Together, please.
You got to go again.
Who do you think you are? No, I don't mess with Mother Nature, but you just have to go twice, is what it means.
That's exactly it. Yeah.
I know. Just excuse me. I got two things here. But you're a member of the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association, and it's such a cool organization, and it always amazes me all these places that the members have been through, and just the networking that happens there. I know the conference is coming up May 6th through 8, 2018. Everyone, it's going to be in Whidbey Island. Up in Washington State, which is beautiful. We've done a lot of coverage on that area, and go just for. I know there's conferences and seminars and all these great things you can learn about, but there's trips to Camino Island, which I've learned how to say finally, and all these awesome things. But for you, what is the benefit of being, a member of this kind of organization? How does it help you as a writer? I know you're an author of books, but you do a lot of travel writing, and your photography is in different publications as well.
Well, I call it Ifwatwa. Ifwatwa puts out the best newsletter of any travel organization I've seen. I really look forward to getting the member newsletter every month, because it just has so much good information. It has different publications that we could potentially write for. It has different, locations that are potentially looking for writers to write about them, and who to contact about finding out where to go and where to stay and where to eat and all that kind of thing. There are photography tips. There's social media tips. And then we have these press trips. I got to go on one to Switzerland early on when I became a member. That was just such a memorable trip. And one of the things that I loved about that trip is that there were about 12 of us, and everybody was great. It was just, I fell in love with every single person, every single other writer on that trip. And that makes such a difference that your traveling companions are great to travel with. It makes such a difference.
Deal.
And and we help each other out. I took another member on to the Galapagos with me.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. See, I think that's the thing is as writers, we are these little solitude people. We go in our little writing burrow or den, and we never come out. And then one day someone knocks on the door and says you haven't eaten for a week. You need to the shower is a good idea. But no, we get into those little modes, and having folks that know what you're going through, and you can communicate and help each other and learn. I think that's a big deal for anybody in the creative arts. Because we go off in our little zones, and then you've got to get out, and all of a sudden now you're out traveling somewhere. And it's wait, I was in my study a few hours ago, and I was all quiet, and now I'm out there, but you're with people who understand, and you get through it all together. And it's a mad dash. A lot of these trips, that's the thing with travel writing, people think, oh, you're on this luxurious vacation. Yeah, we're having a good time, but it is
but it's also
feed.
work. Yes.
Huge amounts of work, and you're photographing and taking notes and coming back to your room till 2 a.m, downloading, uploading, writing, So it's a journey, but totally love your article. Everyone, Melanie's article again is up on nationalparktraveling.com. Just type in Ecuador; it'll come up in the search, and look out for it. It'll be in the April-May issue of Parks and Travel magazine. And go to her website again. It's tripoutontravel.com, and the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. Go to iftwa.org. It's ifwtwa.org. I'll learn more about that. Thank you so much for joining us. It's been a true pleasure, Melanie.
Thank you. It's been fun.
I know. And thanks for hanging in there when we had that little, little internet glitch. I know the internet gods sometimes say it's Friday. We want a break, and we're like, no.
Just don't mention snakes ever again.
I know. It was the snake thing.
It's a stinky bird landed on one of the wires out here.
I was going to tell you, you said on your trip you saw a lot of giant sea turtles, right?
Yes, there are a lot of there are giant sea turtles, and then there are the giant land tortoises.
Wow,
cool.
That's so cool.
Well, we're going to close your segment with a song called Tortuga. It's from Jim Stubblefield. I just thought it would be a good tie-in there. It's off of his album Inspiración, and he went to Machu Picchu, and he went all over the place, and this album is from that. So I just figured it's a good tie-in.
Yeah.
So here
Sounds
it is.
Good.
Tortuga, everybody again, jimstubblefield.com. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
You too. Bye-bye.
playing.
I mean, those are fast fingers, man.
I know. I've got blisters on my fingers just listening to that. Everyone, that was Tortuga from Jim Stubblefield and off of his album Inspiración. And you can go to his website, jimstubblefield.com. And ladies, go look. Just saying. All right, so now we're going to go from Ecuador to Oxford, Mississippi, just south of Memphis. Stay tuned. We're going to hear all about William Faulkner and all the literary and all the literary arts and all the arts and history and architecture in this beautiful historic city. Stay tuned. Well, Oxford is a culturally rich city with a vibrant downtown that revolves around the Oxford Courthouse Square Historic District, and this charming locale was home to Nobel Prize-winning author William Faulkner and esteemed 19th century statesman L.Q.C. Lamar, as well as the University of Mississippi, as we call Ole Miss. Remember that football radio show we did on college football between Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana, Nancy, and Florida? It was Florida years and years ago. We didn't know what we were doing, but the coaches sure gave each other a run for the money. And
they did.
I remember Ole Miss really being like at the top there, and I think won whatever was going on our show between them all. But anyway, it is an established art mecca and also has a burgeoning culinary scene, and we're excited to have travel and lifestyle writer Deborah Stone back on Big Blend Radio today to talk about her adventures in historic Oxford, Mississippi. Her article about the experience will be featured in the April-May issue of Parks and Travel magazine, or you can go right now to nationalparktraveling.com and see her article and photos there. Just type in Oxford and you'll find it. Or just go to the website, visitoxford.ms.com, and you'll be able to see everything at that Visitor Bureau website and see photos and everything there, too. And for more about Debbie, who is a regular contributor here on Big Blend Radio and in our magazines, go to blendradioandtv.com, and you'll see her expert profile there. So, Debbie, how are you?
Well, hello there, ladies. I am doing fine. I'm all set and excited to talk about Oxford, Mississippi. And as you say, it is very historical and has a great art scene, also a good culinary scene, and it's a southern jewel that a lot of people maybe don't know much about, other than the fact that it is home to, as you said, Ole Miss, very historical university, but it's really a great place to go if you want to combine a trip to Memphis, for example, which is only about 85 miles from Oxford. So if you flew into Memphis and rented a car, you could, do Memphis and do Oxford, and actually then Oxford is just a couple hours from Birmingham. So you could do a whole, big kind of southern route there and get a lot of history, get a lot of music, get a lot of art, and a lot of good food.
That sounds good. I want to give everyone that website again because I made a typo. This is what happens when you're, blonde like me. No, it's visitoxfordms.com. There's no dot in there. As I was saying that, I was like, that doesn't look right. So visit oxfordms.com. Go check it out. And it looks beautiful, and it's something I know Nancy and I are going up to Kentucky this year. And we were looking at, going up Natchez Trace from Natchez, Mississippi, all the way up to Nashville. And it doesn't look far. Like we can just do a little detour over to there and then a detour over to Vicksburg as well. So, it's not a huge, huge state, but it is a very culturally significant state. And Oxford seems to me like one of the key places to visit for that kind of thing, especially literature.
Yes. Yeah, big-time literary town, I think, with a very impressive literary heritage.
Yeah, I was like, of course, William Faulkner, but so John Grisham, was he there too?
Yeah, he attended law school at Ole Miss, and, he stayed on. He had property in town. He had a house there. He wrote his books and lived there for a number of years. And as you come into town, as I said in my story when I was writing it, it was like, I'm driving into town, and all of a sudden you just see this, big, beautiful, stately white building right in front of you. And it is the courthouse, which anchors the historic square. But it really looks like something right out of a Grisham legal thriller that he is so known for, and that he usually takes the stories stories take place in the South, but you can see perhaps where that inspiration came from, because I was like, oh my gosh, this looks exactly like out of one of his books. It is a very impressive building, and it sets the kind of scene or the tone for the town, I think.
Yeah, because John Grisham, man, I've read so many of his books, and then you think about the movies that came off of there, like Pelican Brief. It's just like, wow, and it's amazing how these hubs are created, how artists and writers kind of gather in a spot. What do you think? What's in the water?
I think it's really interesting because, there's a wonderful independent bookstore there called Square Books, which we can talk about later. But it's, it has this fabulous Faulkner section, but then it has this huge section that's devoted to, Mississippi writers like Richard Ford and Willie Morris, Eudora Weltley, Donna Tartt, Jesmond Ward, blah, blah, blah. I mean, so many different Mississippi writers that I asked the manager there, and I said, what is it? Why is this such a culturally, literary rich area? And she said, because storytelling is such a rich tradition in the South and, very much so in Mississippi. And it's a very valued, hallowed tradition that, seems to continue through the generations. And I think also people just there's a lot to write about down there. It's the southern scene, the South, the culture, the history. It's just, to me, it kind of lends itself to that.
The South is really intriguing.
Oh man, I love.
From the food into the swamps and all the history, it just is. It is something like there's. No matter where you look, there's something to see.
And
absolutely,
it looks. I know you were there in the wintertime, but isn't there like a forest nearby too? So there's like a natural scenery kind of haven out there.
Yes.
Cool.
Yeah, there's nice open green spaces and parks and woods, and in fact Faulkner's estate, which is called Rowan Oak, is open to the public to tour, but it's in this beautiful woods that they call Bailey Woods. The house used to be called the Bailey House, but he changed it to name it after a tree called the rowan tree, because it meant a symbol of peace, of security, and he derived a lot of inspiration from this place that he was so prolific in terms of and productive in terms of writing. But it's in this beautiful, lovely wooded area, and there are pockets of that you can find within the town.
Nice. And being able to go to to the Rowan House, like his Rowan Oak, and actually go to his home is pretty interesting, because you start to get a little bit of a clue into his creative mind, his creativity. And bourbon was part of it, but not at the same time, apparently.
Sounds good to me.
He didn't multitask, apparently, with his bourbon.
No, I think the statement was something about, I can't do two things at one time, and when I'm drinking, the only thing I can do is be drunk, so to speak. But the house is fascinating. It has a lot of his memorabilia, left with the furnishings that he had. The house actually went into the hands of his daughter, Jill, upon Faulkner's death and his wife's death, and the house was then donated to the University of Mississippi, and making it available. She wanted it available to the public so that people could see where this Nobel Prize laureate, this Pulitzer Prize, master lived and worked. And so you can walk through and tour on a self-guided tour and look into the various rooms, see where he wrote. One of the more fascinating rooms is his actual office or writing room, which he built in the back of the house. And on the walls is this plot outline for a Fable, the book that I believe was the Pulitzer Prize or winning novel. And it's written on the wall in his hands in graphite and red grease pencil. And it's fascinating that he wrote on the wall. But then you go into the kitchen area and the pantry, and you see the telephone, and you see all these phone numbers that have been handwritten on the wall. That was his directory. So obviously writing on the wall was a part of his thing.
I think that's funny. When you think about it, can you just imagine if everybody just wrote phone numbers on the wall?
Yeah. Well, maybe it has to do with the bourbon. No, I'm kidding. But I think. But you said he also, cool. One of his rooms, didn't he put the plot of his book on there?
Yeah.
Like
that was the writing room, the office.
The writing room.
Yeah.
I mean,
it was crazy.
I love that. I mean, there's the phone numbers, but the writing of that, to be able to think out loud, it must have been like I don't know. I wish I was there when he did that.
It's easier than paper when you really think about it. Because remember when we made the chart of the world, and I had to get all this paper, and we covered all those walls, the walls in this one house with this newspaper, white newspaper before it's printed on. And because I was going to try and write a historic novel about Kenya, and it was too much. I never wrote it. I just.
Well, this is pre-computer and Google, okay?
Yeah.
This is way back when.
And it just was so much easier to see it up on the wall. So I totally get why you did it.
Yeah.
You know what? And the thing is that I was asking the man there that is so knowledgeable there, and he was saying that the reason it was written on the wall was basically it was like a storyboard, and he used that kind of method when he lived in Hollywood and was a screenwriter for a while, and so he used that kind of storyboard technique, and then he put it to use in his room.
See? That makes total sense to me.
I know. I like that. So, I mean, you go through, and then I didn't know his mom was an artist, and his wife.
She and his wife Estelle were artists, and there were paintings by them. What I found was interesting is when I was looking and seeing the name, her name and the family's name is Faulkner, Falkner, and Faulkner William added that U to his name in 1918 because he wanted a nom de plume. He wanted a different name. And so, you'll see everything under William Faulkner with the U in it, but anything else that is related to his family, when it talks about his, what his mother, father, whatever, it's all without the U, which I found as a kind of an interesting bit of trivia,
It's all about the accent.
Yeah.
You put a U in it, you get to be kind of British.
Yeah, that's it.
Faulkner.
Man.
Otherwise, you're American and you're just Faulkner.
Yeah, he just wants to be different. And I wonder if he walked around like la-di-da, and the whole place seems so beautiful with gardens.
He had a pipe.
Yeah, that's
why
he did.
Yeah,
he did. What? He was a man of the outdoors, though. He loved nature. He also was a big writer, and he loved tromping around in the woods. He had a great appreciation and respect for nature and the outdoors. So he was a fairly in that respect kind of grounded guy, and he did enjoy his libations, which they, show some of the memorabilia, such as a bottle of Jack Daniels of his, and his pipe, like you said. So, he did have those, certain vices in his life, which we all do, don't we?
And probably had those tweed jackets with the leather elbow patches.
Oh my gosh. I like his look though, because he does feel very regal but naughty. I think he's a naughty man.
Hello.
No, like humorous. You know what I mean? Where he would I think he would be fun, to hang out with and have a cocktail with. I would like to have happy hour with him. I mean, wouldn't you?
Sure.
He reminds me of he reminds me of some actor, and I'm trying to figure out the name of who he is. There's an actor that he just really reminds me of, and I can't. It's Gerald McCraney. I just looked him up. That's who he reminds me of.
You saw him the other night.
Yeah, he looks like him.
Oh, that's interesting. Huh?
Yeah, it was like I kept looking at the statue, the photos you have of the statue, and I'm like,
right,
who is that? And then he looks like another friend of ours too. So there's a bunch of them walking around looking like. But anyway,
must be the Jack Daniels.
And but there you go. But this is so fascinating.
He's what is interesting about him is that he, I think somebody told him early on, write about what you know and write about kind of where you live. And so, he discovered that his own little place there, that area and his town and his county was very rich with subject matter, and he gave them fictitious names and used them in several books as the settings or the scenes, along with supposedly some very colorful characters that actually were modeled after actual real life Oxford residents at the time.
How funny. Like he'd write a book, and then people in the town be like, "Oh, that's you." No, it isn't. It's
yeah,
you.
just go and watch them. I've always wanted to do something like that, especially when you live in smaller towns. The characters. I mean, that's how Northern Exposure is like one of my favorite things, is because it was like everybody,
Didn't you feel like you knew all those from when we lived in Julian?
Yeah, in the mountain towns. Yeah, now great. You had to tell the town name. I remember once, Linda Kassam, the president of the International Food Wine Travel Writers Association. She came on a trip with us to our old mountain community that we lived in. Now it's 3,500 people in the actual town and then surrounding mountains. And so going back to an area that you lived in and you catch up, everyone that you see, all they're doing is catching up on gossip. And we're sitting at breakfast and we're like, well, this person that you met over here, well, la, la, la. See, this is really good to air on on radio here, blah, blah, blah. And by the time we were done, she's like, when are you guys starting a book series on this? Because that's exactly it, all the characters, But Faulkner is so huge internationally as well. A lot of people go to the cemetery? I know you went there, St. Peter's Cemetery, to see his grave there.
Yeah, I think that if you're a Faulkner fan or even just a literary aficionado, that you're going to go to St. Peter's Cemetery, which has the graves of William and his wife Estelle, along with the family plot. And you'll notice on the graves that people do bring these little bottles, almost like the airplane-sized bottles of bourbon or whatever, and they actually pour it near the grave and then leave the bottle. And there's also people who leave pens and pencils for the ode to literary. And then there's pennies on there, and that's I don't know exactly why, but I'm just thinking maybe it's a penny for your thoughts kind of thing. But people leave little bits of things and in his memory to kind of mark and denote that they've been there, and so I thought that was really interesting. And my guide had brought a little bottle of like an airplane bottle of bourbon or whiskey, whatever it was, and so he said, so you pour it near the grave. And I was like, okay, here you go, William.
And all the grass starts to wilt. No, I'm kidding. But here's the thing with that and the pennies. I have to go back to this because all of your, recent historic destinations that you've been to, Miss Fire Monkey, have these stories of being, possibly haunted. And one of the signs of a ghost or a spirit that is connecting with you is leaving a penny. So what if it's Faulkner leaving pennies for the bourbon?
Yeah, he's paying for the bourbon.
I love that.
Yeah, so that's the thing where I'm thinking it is. The other thing is, so you can go there, but you mentioned this bookstore, and I get excited when I hear about local bookstores. This is Square Books, because we're losing them. They're becoming these national treasures, when you can find a really good bookstore. So it seems fitting that there's one there.
Yes, and it's very beloved, very well known, right across from the courthouse, and it's just one of those wonderful places that you can browse for hours. They even have a little cafe upstairs. Get yourself a cup of coffee. Go out on this beautiful deck that they have up on the top on the upstairs area. Look out at the square. There's comfy chairs to sit, and then the people in there are very knowledgeable about everything that's literary, books, and specifically about Faulkner, and also anything in regards to Mississippi authors. So I found it a delightful place to spend time, and I could have spent a lot more time in there because bookstores are really, especially those independent bookstores, are really some of my favorite haunts.
Me too.
They're interesting.
I know, like there's that one in Portland, Oregon, Powell's.
Yes.
That's dangerous.
That's a dangerous
place for us to go to. But now, okay, the other thing is these buildings, and when I knew you were going to Oxford, I'm like, I know she's going to dig into the architecture in that town because I mean, does it feel
Yes.
like a town or a city? Because I mean, here of a university
Town.
and city hall, it feels like a town. That's cool. How many people do you think live there? Do you
Well,
get
actually,
a feel of?
it's very interesting. Yeah, there's about 20,000 in Oxford, but what's really interesting is there's about 20,000 students. So you've got, and students
Nice.
are there. You've got to combine 40,000 together. But the town itself is about 20,000 people there, and they really are very. History is very important to them, and so they have really, saved and preserved and put buildings listed on the National Register of Historic Places. You can walk around. You can take a walking tour, a self-guided walking tour with a map and information from the visitor center, and you can, see that the buildings have these plaques, and they will let you know, what the date is, what it is, and it's to me it was fascinating to walk around and look at these masterpieces. There's Gothic revival, Victorian Gothic and Romanesque revival, and all different kinds of architecture. And what is very interesting, though, is that these a lot of the buildings, in fact, all of them but one, I think, were destroyed by Union troops in 1864 during the Civil War. So even the courthouse is, the courthouse is replaced to the original structure, because it was definitely destroyed in the war as well. So these are later structures in town, kind of the latter part of the 1800s after the war when things were then reconstructed. So, but it's very interesting. I think the name, immediately you think of Oxford, England.
Yeah.
And you think of that hallowed university there. And that was really the idea behind, kind of the powers that be or the people in Oxford. They wanted the name to be Oxford because they wanted to attract a state university, which, in fact, they successfully did. And so there is a little bit of that British influence in the fact that there's this red London-style telephone booth sitting outside of City Hall. And then there's these red double-decker buses that the city bought.
Yeah.
Which I think is very cool, and they use it for special events, and you can get them for private events and whatever. But you see these little, these red double-decker buses riding around, and you're thinking, Where am I?
Yeah, that's funny.
Wow, I love that. There's one phone booth that we saw in Visalia, California, up in the Sequoia region, and you're walking in this historic downtown of Visalia, and the architecture is weird because they kept adding onto buildings, and so there'll be like a tiny building, like a sliver in between two buildings, and they're all of different, they're all different, and it's really interesting. And like a road will come in, so one will be higher than it's bizarre, but it's a really cool walk downtown, and they still have the rings where people used to ride their horses in town, where you could hitch the horses, which is cool.
Nice.
But then you're walking through this and you're getting all parts of history, and you go around the corner and there's a phone booth, a British phone booth, and you're like, what? Number one, when do we see phone booths anymore anyway? It's like a whole new thing.
Right.
I don't even know if they work like phone booths, if they keep them connected.
I believe the idea of a phone booth was so you'd have privacy while you talk, which seems to have also gone out the window.
Yeah, right? That's exactly it. But I love that you have that British vibe in there, But a lot of these buildings were pretty interesting, and some of the churches to me are, I always think churches and cathedrals are so cool to look at. And the one you said was the Burns Belfry was actually organized by former slaves, right?
Right. It's called Burns Belfry, and it was built in 1910 and for the congregation of the Burns United Methodist Church, which originally was organized by former slaves back in 1869. And so later, many, many years later, the congregation sold the building and it went into office space. But then John Grisham purchased it, and he had it for a while. And then he later donated it to the Heritage Foundation there, the Oxford Lafayette County Heritage Foundation, which then, made it into kind of a multicultural center where they have sometimes exhibits and different things. When I was there, they were doing some exhibits for the Film Fest and whatnot. But it's I love how when they repurpose old buildings as well, it's just to me really wonderful that they want to preserve that history. I love when towns are very committed to that.
And then you had, is it Amadell House? Amadell?
Yes.
Ooh,
Amadell House. there's a couple. There's like 3 homes that are on National Historic Landmark status in town, privately owned. As I said, you can do your drooling from the street side, but it is this gorgeous, gorgeous Italianate mansion that was started back in 1859, and then construction stopped because of the war, and then it later resumed. Supposedly it has a secret room in which the Confederate soldiers were hidden.
Cool.
It also has closets and kitchen that aren't separate from the rest of the house, which is very unusual at the time, because most of the time you'd find things, outbuildings, particularly kitchens, not in the main house. So it is a really a treasure and a beautiful building that gets a lot of people stopping in the middle of the street as they're driving. They're like, whoa, wow. I got to get a picture of this,
That's cool, man.
Yeah, that's neat. I like it when they hide people in their house.
Yeah, we were just talking about the priest hole in England, how they had hidden the priests in these big, mansions. And then when we were in central Louisiana, in Alexandria, we were in this old plantation, and this wasn't open. It was a bed and breakfast at the time. Now it's closed to the public, but again, haunted. Anyhow, but downstairs, apparently during the Civil War, the Yankees came in and took over, but there were people underneath. They kept some of the Confederates underneath in the bottom of the house, including a mule. And so they tore up the stonework and put charcoal down, and the mule would pee in the corner in the charcoal. And the general was sleeping down there, and they worked together, and then.
But it was Sherman.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it comes to Sherman.
This is in absolutely crazy history, and when you go down there, you get the heebie-jeebies. You really do.
You're like,
Yeah, but
it's not the mule.
They started playing. I don't want to say cricket, but they did start playing like baseball or cricket between both sides out on the Red River.
Wow.
It was like this crazy history of here's, everybody's fighting, but over at this plantation, everybody started getting along, and just, how they managed it.
Interesting.
There's like, I can't remember the whole thing. I wish I could, but it is super, super cool. But speaking of that, the Lamar House, that's a museum now.
Right, it's the LQC Lamar House Museum. I didn't really know much about him. The only name identification for me that I associated was very interesting, because when I was in Yellowstone Park last summer, Lamar Valley. And I put the 2 and 2 together, and I was like, whoa, is this the same Lamar? And yes, it is, because he did serve as the Secretary of the Interior, and he was quite pro parks and things like that, did a lot for the parks. And so I thought, oh, my gosh, so that's where it comes from. But he's a very interesting man, because he is Mississippi's most noted, most famous 19th century statesman. He is one of 2 people, and I'm not sure who the other person is, who served not only in both houses of Congress, served as the Secretary of the Interior, and then served as a Supreme Court justice. So it was the trifecta for him. And I think only one other person in history has done that. But he is Mississippi's only Supreme Court justice. He was this pre-war congressman. He became a secessionist. Secessionist who became, who was, on the side of the Confederacy. And then after the war, he became a congressman again, with very determined to reconcile the North and South, did a lot in that respect. So it's very interesting to see the transition of this man. He is also one of 8 politicians who was featured in JFK's book Profiles in Courage, because like some of the others, they defied the opinions of their party. They went against opposition to do what they felt was right. So, a courageous, very courageous man.
Just feature that, a politician that does what they're supposed to do for the American people instead of some party. I don't know what kind of parties they throw, but ours are better.
I know this isn't our Champagne Sunday show, but if I had champagne, I'd be raising a glass to him now. That is awesome.
Yeah, he needs to come back.
I know, I love it.
I could give him a list of people to talk to.
I know, but it's cool, and it's so cool to have places where people can go and remember the actions people take out of courage, not being popular all the time and making a stand. And I think it goes well with this kind of creative community because the arts, it's all about not doing the same thing as everybody else and not being, not being a factory in what you write or do. And that's art. And so I think that is awesome.
I wonder if they ever shut down the government back then.
I know. No, there was a shutdown years and years and years ago. There was. But anyway, at least that's passed. But the university, I wanted to go there because I think universities, majority of them have such cool architecture and gardens.
Yes.
And I'd love to have it's like the heartbeat of a region because of the youth coming in and learning, no matter what age you are, if you're learning, you're young,
Yes, and you know what? It's a cultural place, and the university there brings a lot to the community in terms of all the culture that is there, but also the history itself. The school dates back to I think the chartering of in 1844. And then, they started with 80 students. Today it's over 20,000. It's this beautiful, southern picture pretty campus with these grand buildings, like the Lyceum, which dates back to 1848, was the only survivor of the 5 original structures there. It's this Greek Revival, gorgeous building. Then there's what I've learned about was the Grove. And, most universities of sizes that, have football programs, tailgating is quite popular and very important. But Ole Miss takes it to the extreme end in the fact that they, it's tailgating at a higher level. It's not. I remember tailgating when I went to University of Illinois and University of Wisconsin, and it would be out in the parking lot, and you'd be like sitting with some kind of keg of beer or whatever it was. Mm-hmm. Well, the Grove is this 11-acre tailgate area that's just incredibly it's a beautiful camp in the campus, and everybody gathers there, and there's tents, and it's there's chandeliers, and there's all this stuff, and they all the players kind of run through there, and so it's a big deal because, as you know, football in the South is huge. It's like a religion down there, and so particularly at Ole Miss, the Manning name of Archie, the patriarch, who was the captain of the football team there. Eli Manning, his son, played for Ole Miss. Peyton did not. I believe he played for UT. But there is a Manning a way or a street that's named after Manning, and the Manning name in town is very hallowed.
See, there you go. And
then how come one of them didn't do? You said Peyton didn't play there?
Yeah, Peyton went to UT, and I'm not sure the reasonings behind that. But when I was asking about the Peyton name, they said, well, Archie and Eli played for Ole Miss. The Mannings are, I guess, very generous to the community, and you see a lot of Manning name marks around. But also the campus has an incredible university museum, which is home to these incredible collections in this what I consider jewel of a museum. There's one of the largest, if not the largest, Greek and Roman antiquity collection in the South that's there. And then there's these really interesting 19th century scientific instruments, and then there's American art. And I was really fascinated to see in American art, which is 20th century masters, they had a Georgia O'Keeffe there, and being, living in Santa Fe, I was like, oh my gosh, it's a Georgia O'Keeffe, And
she traveled.
So I was really impressed. Yes. Well, her work traveled, so, but anyway, and they have quite a collection there, and it's a lovely, lovely museum, and I was quite impressed with it. I did not expect something with such collections to be there, but it was wonderful.
Well, it's amazing because, too, I know that they're known as the cultural mecca of the South, and I love that. And it's like they're the mecca of the South, and they're at the top of the state. They're like, here we are. But what's interesting, too, is like they seem to have all these events like art walks or art crawls over there, and they've got a pop-up Oxford, and that's in late January, you say? That's a...
Yes. In fact, I was there with Pop-Up Oxford, and it's held late January, and it's this week-long series of events. It's almost like Chautauqua Festival with, music, literary, artistic, cultural, dance, lectures, signings by authors, songwriter concerts, performances, musicals. That every day in the evenings and different times there's these events, for example, there's like a hotel hop, which I also I participated in, where they took you around and once again in those double-decker buses, and you could check out the different accommodations in town, which I thought was a great idea, not only for visitors but for locals who say, well, if I have a bunch of visitors coming, where can they stay if I can't fit them in my house? And so it was a great idea to see these wonderful accommodations that are all equally wonderful, but very different and unique in their own right. And and then you get to sample some of the food that they have in their restaurants, and so it was a great way for people to kind of spend the evening and go around and look at all these places.
Neat. And so they've got an art walk, everyone. And the other thing, too, you're talking about lodging. You stayed at the Graduate. And, I know that's because it's a university town, but my mind went to the movie, immediately. So that seemed like a fun place because you've got a rooftop bar, and music and good stuff. Yes, and it's a great place, and actually there are graduates in a number of different, not quite, I don't know how many towns exactly, but there are a number of university towns that have this graduate hotel, and so they're around the country in various university towns, and they are each different because they reflect kind of the university and the atmosphere in which they're at, which is wonderful. So in the Graduate, the room, all of the rooms have these silhouettes of Archie and Olivia Manning, so that's pretty funny. And the place has got this wonderful pink oak, laid in pink oak when you walk in the lobby, and there's lots of colorful artwork on the walls, and there's polka dot carpeting, and then the rooftop bar is this really fun place for locals and visitors, and people wanting to watch a game, look at the town out on the rooftop deck. There's live music. Very friendly. People are very friendly. So, I love staying there, and it's just a few blocks from the square, very easy to walk around. That whole town is very easy. It's a very walkable, I think, user, pedestrian-friendly type of town. That's nice.
Cool.
I love that. Now, let's talk about the food, because I know you've been hanging out in the South this year quite a bit, and good thing you get all that walking, and just like what we were talking about last week on St. Augustine. But you apparently started your day at Big Bad Breakfast, which already sounds like you got the triple B going on. When you started off with here is a big Southern breakfast that's going to take you, so it's going to help you walk the town. This was a biggie.
Well, you know what? They have these wonderful skillet scrambles that they do, and then they have, wonderful, of course, in the South, biscuits are amazing, But, they had house cured, supposedly this Tabasco brown sugar type of bacon that they actually make, and it's, and then of course the bruleed grapefruit, which I love. You know what creme brulee is? It's kind of the burnt sugar kind of thing. So they do that with a grapefruit, and it is oh my gosh, it's so good. So you can, start your day with a nice hearty Southern breakfast, which will last and give you some good energy to walk around, and or you can go over and just get these wonderful pastries over at Bottle Tree Bakery, which is this very well-known place that's been around for quite some time, and then you can walk around, and then if you get hungry in a couple hours, which you normally will, even after a Southern hearty breakfast, you can tempt your taste buds at a variety of places for lunch, and you can get anything from this wonderful Italian cooking to pub food to anything that you want, fresh salads. There's a man there that has a restaurant, kind of a dynasty. He owns four restaurants in town. One is Big Bad Breakfast, another is Brulee, and then Bourrée, and the other two are wonderful Snack Bar and City Grocery, which I ate at for dinner, and they were excellent with some wonderful dishes, some inventive, innovative type of cuisine.
So this was John Currens, and he's James Beard award-winning, award-winning chef and restaurateur. So that's pretty cool. I also want to check out Proud Larry's when we're there because number one, it's pizza, and today is National Pizza Day, so go to Larry's. But and it's Friday night, and this is your music venue, and I mean you can't have writers and artists without music. It just and especially in a university town. But man, Warren Zevon hung out there and performed. That to me is like a John Mayer. And Elvis Costello, Warren Zevon. I would have killed to have seen him. I mean, that sounds terrible, but I really would have loved to have seen him perform live. That is just cool.
It is a great place. It's and I asked one of the guys there, and I was saying, so why do you get these notable acts here? And he said, well, we're on this wonderful music road with Memphis and everything, and so a lot of the acts are coming through, and so they're oftentimes very willing to do another extra night as long as they're coming through there, and especially in a university town with 20,000 students, and so they'll get some fairly good names. I was very impressed with the names there, and so it's great. It's got it's very atmospheric in my mind.
I love how central it is, and I mean you could go to Graceland the next day.
Absolutely.
Yeah, just saying, Nancy. We haven't done that yet. Do you think Elvis went down there and performed there, like in
good
Oxford?
question.
Who knows?
Good question.
Back then, So, wow. So a lot of history, a lot of notables. Everyone, again, the website is visitoxfordms.com. So now, is Georgia next? I got to keep up with these adventures.
Yes, it is. This is my last for the current period of time. But since I've done so much south, this is my last southern one for a while. I'm going to St. Simon Island off the coast in Georgia there, and I'm going to enjoy that area by the beach. I hear that there's some history, a wonderful lighthouse there. I think we're doing an eco tour, and so I'm excited to be by the beach. I really enjoy being by water and living in landlocked New Mexico here. So it's nice when I can get out to these places right on the beach there. So so I'm excited about that. But my tour of the South, I definitely will come back because it is just, there's so much to write about in the South. It's just extensive. I could spend, weeks and months and, years probably traveling around and finding wonderful, wonderful stories about these sometimes off the beaten path destinations.
Yeah, I know. We're excited to go through it this year too, and get back out there. And see some swampy, watery stuff too, because we need water. I know, and the desert right now is going, please give us some rain. It would be really nice. Thank you very much. So when you get to see water, you get excited. And then everybody, again, if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, you'll be able to read Debbie's article all about Oxford, Mississippi, and you'll see it in the April-May issue of Parks and Travel magazine. Again, if you go to blendradioandtv.com, you'll see her expert page there, and you can connect to her other articles on Big Blend. But listen, happy travels, and of course, I have music for you today.
Thank you. Great.
Shocking. But your song today is called Surf the Mississippi.
There you go.
Ooh. From Los Angeles-based Tall Men group, our six tall men who have and I thought it was appropriate because they're all prolific songwriters and have performed and played with everybody pretty much. And
wonderful.
This is their songwriting challenge. Every month they get together and they pick a theme, and they each have to write a song about it. And then they get together once a month and have dinner. Chef Jimmy Yessian, one of the songwriters, makes dinner for them, and then they record an album once a year. So this is off of their second album. It's called Too Tall, and this is called Surf the Mississippi. Excuse me, not Too Tall. It's off of Feast, the album Feast, their latest one, their third album. You can hear their interview on blendradioandtv.com. But Surf the Mississippi, and I thought it went well because of the writing challenge, and it, Oxford being a writer's town. So
fabulous. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. You take care and have a great weekend, and happy travels in Georgia.
Watch out for those.
You too. Take care.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Everyone, here it is, Surf the Mississippi.
field. Standing in his cotton field, north of Bourbon, south of Beale. Wait until the levee breaks. Gonna catch you away with the gators and snakes. And we'll surf the Mississippi. Yeah, we'll surf the Mississippi. Sunny Sano. All we got is an old bayou. Our Woody is a pickup truck. Just grab your stick, we'll pick you up. And we'll surf the Mississippi. Mississippi. You know California, well it's mighty fine, 'cause you ain't lived till you surf the muddy water below the Willie Dixon line. Trip to head dip in the Mississippi. You might say it ain't your scene till you jazz the glass down to New Orleans. And we'll surf the Mississippi. Mississippi, yeah, we'll surf the Mississippi, surf the Mississippi.
Everyone, again, that was a Tall Men group, and it was Surf the Mississippi.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's a little bit west of Oxford, Mississippi, and a good place, man. I want to go there this year, hopefully, if we can make that little detour. I know there's going to be a lot of detours coming up, but you know what? So we're going to go south from Oxford, southwest to Natchitoches, Louisiana, the oldest city in the state, and hear a little bit about some of their amazing film history in the upcoming film festival, and then we'll re-air Steve Schneikert recalling some Hollywood history of Louisiana, and this is a conversation I had a little while ago with a couple ladies telling us all about the wonderful history of Natchitoches and how the history of Natchitoches and that whole region tie into film history and how it's alive today. So enjoy. It's pretty fantastic.
I think the South is just in its whole region is intriguing.
It totally is. From the filming of Steel Magnolias to the Jazz R&B Festival, Natchitoches, Louisiana knows how to celebrate the arts. Well, quite frankly, they know how to celebrate everything in Natchitoches. It's from food to just the nature, the history. There's always something festive and fun to do in the city. Founded in 1714, Natchitoches is the original French colony and the oldest city in Louisiana, and the city features a charming historic downtown. It runs along Cane River Lake, and it's also home to the Cane River Creole National Historical Park, the Cane River National Heritage Area, and is the final destination on the El Camino Real de los Tejas National Historic Trail, which originally ran up from Mexico through Texas and, of course, to Natchitoches. And today we have two special guests joining us on Big Blend Radio to talk about the area's upcoming events that celebrate the arts. The first guest we have is Catherine Johnson. She's the Group Tour and Special Events Manager for the Natchitoches Area Convention and Visitors Bureau, and I encourage you to go to their website. It's natchitoches.com, and she can spell it for you because how we say Natchitoches is not how it's spelled. Right, Catherine?
That's absolutely right. It is a mouthful.
Well, that's meat pies when it comes to mouthfuls in your town. You get those.
Oh,
those
yeah,
Louisiana,
meat pies.
Yeah, yummy.
Meat pies and the spelling of Natchitoches is all a mouthful.
Oh, I like that. So, yeah, so Natchitoches is like, it's as though we're saying it N-A-K, right? But it's Natchitoches. Did I get that right? Natchitoches.com.
You did. You got that exactly right. But the pronunciation is Natchitish, Natchitoches. But we have to spell it out on everything we print, on everything that we market.
Yeah, that's fun. It gives you a little. Well, it explains the history because you are the oldest city in Louisiana, and that's something I never knew about. You know, I think we all think New Orleans is. You know, it just has
that's
that thing.
That's absolutely right. Yeah.
Yeah,
everybody thinks New Orleans is the oldest. However, Natchitoches is 3 years older, and it has a big history to be such a small little city, and that's how we love to celebrate our history through our films and festivals and annual events. So have a lot going on, a lot.
It's hashtag Celebrate Nat, everybody, on social media. So if you're in Natchitoches and Instagramming and taking selfies, it's Celebrate Nat. That's the hashtag Celebrate Nat. So, you know, because you're a Group Tour and Special Events Manager, I know you got to be having a lot of fun with all these events that happen. But do you get a lot of groups? And you know, are they like special kinds of groups? Are they history groups? Or who's coming to Natchitoches?
Oh, just about everybody's coming to Natchitoches. We have groups that are specifically interested in history, but we also have student travelers from the around the region in the Arklatex. We also have just leisure groups that are wanting to come. They want to spend the night. Some want to come during festivals, certain festivals during the year, like the APHN Fall Tour of Homes or the Back to the 50s Car Show. And then some just want to come here during the day on their way to New Orleans, and they want to get acclimated to the charm of the historic district. They want to shop the shops. They want to taste that Southern Creole cuisine in the area, and they just want to get a feel for that little special town in Louisiana that everybody knows for the Christmas festival. And quite frankly, that's when we get most of our groups because they flock to Natchitoches. They definitely want to experience that Christmas magic in the air, but they also want to get a feel at the same time for the history and heritage in the area.
And of course, you got Steel Magnolias as a filming location is Natchitoches. I mean, the whole story comes from there. So I can imagine you get a lot of groups coming just for the film history. And that brings us to our next guest is Kelly Jackson. She's the organizer of the Cane River Film Festival that happens March 23rd to 24th in 2018. And I encourage you to go to the website. It's caneriverfilmfestival.com. And this is very exciting because this is the first annual film festival for the area, and it celebrates the 30th year anniversary of Natchitoches, Louisiana, being the filming location for Steel Magnolias. Welcome, Kelly. How are you?
Thank you. I'm doing wonderfully. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, this is exciting.
Very excited about.
Go ahead.
Yes, go on.
I was going to say this is exciting to have the first annual film festival, and is it because of the 30th year celebration that it kicked off the idea?
Well, it's a conjunction of two things. I'm from California, and I came here investigating my Creole roots with the Metoyer story. And that just really brought me here to do my own personal film called Resurrection Fern. I've been doing that for a few years now, working with the Marie Therese story and the Claude Thomas Pierre Metoyer story. So being a Cane River Creole from the Isle Breville area where my ancestors and I'm a descendant of these people brought me here from California out of my curiosity and love of being a filmmaker and an actor myself for over 20 years. So I decided last year, to step up and go into the Cane River Film Festival, basically about my heritage. That's why I chose the name, and about our area and our historic, things that went on from the beginning to what's going on today. It's a beautiful place. So that was part of it. And the other part was, yes, Film Magnolias has been a world-renowned film, and this comes up as our 30-year anniversary of that film that was made here. Robert Harlan and his family are wonderful people, and has given me the blessing to continue the legacy of his sister and their family member, and to continue in her memory through NSU and having their involvement as well. So I'm just really excited to put them both together.
I think that's exciting. I didn't realize that about you being a filmmaker. And the history, to me, is so diverse in Natchitoches and the whole parish area. And going out to, like, Melrose Plantation and learning the history of the Khoikhoi. Did I say that correctly? I've got to get my language straight.
Yes, you did.
Well, the history there is so fascinating. And I remember our very first trip to Natchitoches, meeting Arlene over at the CVB, and Arlene Gould, everyone. She's on our shows all the time, and I got all into it. There's this group on Facebook that I follow all the time, and they have all this history of the Isle Breville area, and so genealogy seems to be a huge part of the area's attraction, especially for you, Kelly. That's cool.
Well, definitely. I've volunteered as NGHA as a part of our Natchitoches Genealogy Society at the library, the genealogy library, for probably 4 years, researching the story through the mayor and the parish president and our state representative. I've been able to acquire Marie Therese Coin Day through proclamations and resolutions. So I'm now going on celebrating my 5th-year anniversary of the Marie Therese Day, which will be held February 10th at the St. Augustine Catholic Church, where, is our foundation, is our church. So I'm really excited to be at the church this year. And because I've been celebrating the Marie Therese Coin Day, it was on Louisiana Public Broadcasting this year. And I thought, now that the story is getting out there in a bigger way throughout Louisiana, let me do something else to help encourage people about our history of Natchitoches and the Cane River Creoles, the free people of color. And this incorporates all of us, because we're all Cane River people, and we're a community and a descendants of some very interesting and great people from the beginning in the 17th century,
Absolutely. I mean, that's the thing. It's so diverse, and I love that St. Augustine's Church. It's so that there's something like it's deep when you even just get out of the car. You can feel like the energy there. I can't explain it, but I feel that way all over the region. And do you ever think about making a movie of Clementine Hunter, and because of her history and it's just so fascinating. I know we're talking about the arts, but like Melrose Plantation. I remember at one point in history that become kind of like an artist haven, not just for artists but also for writers.
Absolutely. Absolutely. With Cammie Henry.
Right, Cammie Henry nurtured the site.
Yeah.
Yes.
Absolutely, and developing that artist colony, and they owned the Melrose at that time, and it's very interesting. The Clementine Hunter story. Someone just did a documentary about that. I'm more interested in my particular family heritage with the Marie Therese, and that family being the first owners of that Melrose Plantation land and building of the St. Augustine Catholic Church. I think it's really important that, first of all, people remember that Louisiana was French place. We were French citizens before Americans, so the story hasn't been told about that. And the story hasn't been told about a free people of color where they became from slavery to freedom and became very wealthy entrepreneurs in importing and exporting and landowners themselves. So it's really important for me to tell that story through my eyes, through Marie Therese, a woman empowerment story, through her eyes. As a descendant, I've been researching for years. And that's what brings me to the Cane River Film Festival. It helps me develop a platform for Resurrection Fern. It's helping me also develop closer relationships with companies like Sony, Pascal Lighting in New Orleans, Canon, Millennium Films that's in Los Angeles, but they have a base in Shreveport. So I've been speaking with these type of companies, and that helps me have the opportunity to build relationships to make Resurrection Fern in the future and have it hopefully next year in the Cane River Film Festival.
And it also re-energizes the filming industry interest in Louisiana, especially Northwest Louisiana, because it's a great story. Yes.
Absolutely,
and Northwest. It's so fascinating to me, and I'm so glad you're following up on Latrice Coy, her history too. I mean, she had 10 children, right? And just to think about, how she even acquired that land was such a unique way. And I mean, can I just say she kicked butt?
As a lot of women do. Yes, we do.
That's why it's important to tell. A lot of the stories haven't been in a perspective of a woman, and that's why it's important that I tell her story. That way people can understand, the trials and tribulations that she went through being a single parent, raising that many children on her own, coming from slavery to freedom, to a place of power, in a place where it wasn't a time for women in any kind of way. It's very important to go from that perspective. And it's more of a 4-generation story, like the next roots in regards to a free people of color story, when we're celebrating, talking about Saint Denis, Iberville, Bienville, and the beginning of not only Natchitoches, but this is the starting of Louisiana altogether, being the oldest permanent settlement in the Louisiana Purchase. But that's what I mean. Having a film festival will not only, like Catherine said, to bring more filmmakers here. One of my friends is coming from Los Angeles. He has 2 Emmys from producing The Amazing Race and America's Next Top Model. He will be a part of my question and answer guest panel. His name is Bob Mora Jr., and he's a mega producer, and I've been trying to get him out here for a year since I moved here, but now he's like, I want to be a part of that film festival, Kelly. So I'm super excited to have him come and be a part of the Q&A, and so that the students from Louisiana School of Math, Science, and Arts, our students from NSU, they can, meet and greet this type of person on this level, and also ask questions, how did you get started, and those type of things. So it has a lot of facets that will be very helpful for not only just entertainment, but for job opportunities as well. It's been, and education has really been a core reason and that I'm doing this as well.
And let me interject, Kelly, because it solves, it kind of serves also as a platform for up-and-coming filmmakers, young and old, no matter where they are. It provides them another venue, another opportunity to seek out ways and places and people that they can make their own dreams come true.
I think this is really exciting because
I'm sorry, I had a recent submission from an 8th grader, and I was just really touched. I thought, this is what it all means when you can reach young minds that are being educated in the arts and submit their film, their short, to such a film festival in hopes to be seen by these type of producers or people and give them their dream. And, I mean, it's encouraging me.
I'm very excited because I think a lot of times when you think about film a lot of people will think immediately to Los Angeles and New York, and not always, hey, Louisiana. But when you look at Louisiana and how many movies have been filmed in the state as a whole, it's incredible. I mean, you had such a diverse landscape. I mean, you can go from the Kisatchie Forest area to, hey, let's go get swampy. And then, like a few days ago, you guys had snow, so you could even film snow.
And ice.
And ice, yeah. So I mean, it's really fascinating to me, and I think you've got things like you're saying, being the oldest settlement in Louisiana gives you that true birthplace and that feeling and those buildings that you don't have anywhere else. I mean, even when you go on Magnolia Plantation, part of the Cane River National Historical Park, the slave cabins there, they're the only brick ones, I think, that are still standing. So
they're intact, the most intact, absolutely, this side of the Mississippi. So, I mean, that's great history. I mean, and they're both, I mean, it's a bicentennial farm, the Oakland Plantation, which in itself, as well as the outbuildings to Magnolia, they're both bicentennial farms. And so the history is so rich and yet so diverse in the area. It's just remarkable for such a small city.
Right. And that's why I've been very proud, too, with the Marie Therese Coin Day. From the beginning, we were able to have the Fort St. John Baptiste's location. Then we had the Maison de Marie Therese area, her original home site. The next year we had it at the LeMay House. And last year we had it at the Badan Rock House, which is the only one in Louisiana. And this year we'll have it at the St. Augustine. All these places are on the Registry of Historic Places. And that's a lot of places just in one location, And I think
in
that's
such
fantastic.
A small area, absolutely.
Well, you've got that beautiful scenic drive, the Louisiana, byway that you can take, but also the Cane River Heritage Trail. And, as you drive around and you see all these houses and the historic homes, and then you got the historic downtown historic district. I mean, I want to go hang out in the cemetery. Like that to me, I like the
American
cemetery.
Cemetery, yes, absolutely. The American Cemetery is a great place to be. We get lots of groups that are interested in it and just lots of individuals. But, going back to genealogy and this area being, it's kind of like a haven for people coming to look for their Creole roots and just French colonial roots as well. But the American Cemetery is the oldest cemetery in the Louisiana Purchase. And so it has a lot of great family history. It's a great source for people looking for their ancestors. In addition to looking at the genealogy library, so great resource there. And also the filming side of the Still Magnolias movie.
Absolutely, and that's where my Matuire, Claude Thomas Pierre Matuire, is buried in American Cemetery. So I have, my ancestors. You can go right there. And also behind the St. Augustine Catholic Church, that's where I discovered my great-grandparents' grave, and those are my ancestors as well. And I was like, oh, my God, this is my great-grandparents. So I've never come here before. I came in 2010, the very first time. I didn't know anything about Natchitoches, Cane River, Creoles, any of this story. And I happened to be on Facebook and saw the Matuire people, and I said, anybody with that odd name must be my relative. So I started joining them, and then I saw, the St. Augustine Catholic Church, the Melrose Plantation. I said, what is that about? So I Googled it, and that day my life changed. I felt like, I called my dad. I said, how come you never told me about this story in our family? He said, what story? And I've been on it ever since. I said, I have got to make this into a movie. I've got to go down there to this magical place. All these people, become famous from here. Kate Chopin, Clementine Hunter. You have, the writers, the authors, the artists. And I said, this must be a magical place.
It's a very magical place, absolutely. I just want to say, remind the public who may not know that the St. Augustine Catholic Church, that was built by the ancestors. The ancestors of Marie Therese Coin, is also in the movie Still Magnolias, in the marriage scene when Shelby gets married, and so that is like one of the key points in the movie when tourists come in and they want to tour the sites along the Still Magnolias tour. They always ask, where is that St. Augustine Catholic Church? So we can go and tour it. And so that's a big draw. for people.
And Father Charlie Ray is the current priest there, and he's opening up the doors to the St. Augustine Catholic Church for that Sunday if people want to come to church and worship, and they can also tour the grounds on that Sunday of the cemetery and the church as well. He'll be opening up the prayer that Saturday morning of the Cane River Film Festival. So I'm really excited to have different aspects of the film involved in the Cane River Film Festival.
I want to touch on this because I think this is, like we were talking about, people travel to go and see and experience like old, film sets, but really when you look at Steel Magnolias, just like your movie that you're making, your family, Kelly is amazing. It really is, and genealogy is such a big deal, Do you watch Find Your Family Roots? Do you watch that TV show? I'm addicted.
I love that
Find
show. Oh my gosh,
I've seen it.
I love it.
It's so touching, and that's what happened to me. And I'm like, oh my, I have to come here. And I didn't know anyone here. I came here by myself, and I'm pretty much one of those stories where Catherine's one of the first people I met. And I kept coming to her office probably like every day.
I love it.
She did, but it's okay.
Yeah,
it was a
literally,
story.
I did. And I just wanted to get to know everyone.
Well, everyone is so friendly in Natchitoches. I want to touch on this because you do have a Steel Magnolias tour, and everyone, you can find this on Natchitoches.com, and we'll put links for it up in the magazine and everything. You got a Steel Magnolias tour, and the first one is the St. Augustine Catholic Church, but also you've got the Northwestern State University Fieldhouse. And I know NSU is a big deal for Natchitoches and Northwest Louisiana as part of people coming in, and I think that's what's so exciting too, Kelly, about what you're doing with the Cane River Film Festival, because I think when you have the youth connect with the arts and have those opportunities that aren't always there, it's such a big deal, because a lot of times in education the arts get kind of tucked away, and we can't allow that to happen. So I love that. But
the students are super excited. I've talked with some of the professors as well, from hospitality to the film industry and the media with the radio. But I have FIMU involved with Allie Jacobs. The Steel Magnolia Scholarship Award is given out twice a year to communication students. We'll be donating monies to that charity. We also have the nursing program. That all of these entities were a part of Susan Harlan's life. She was a FIMU, her sorority. She was also a nurse and went through the NSU nursing program. So we have a strong presence with NSU at the Natchitoches Event Center for the Entertainment Business Expo. I've given them booths so that they can sell their own items and raise their own fundings for their own charities. So I'm excited about that and having their presence involved, which continues Susan Harlan's legacy in life.
Now, on this trail, again, everyone go to Natchitoches.com, and you'll be able to see this list. The American Cemeteries on there, the Steel Magnolia House, and this is the actual house that it was filmed in, right?
Yes,
it's a B&B
family
now,
home.
So you can stay there.
Absolutely.
Wow,
yeah, it's a bed and breakfast. It's a privately owned bed and breakfast now, and you definitely can book a room to stay there throughout the year when you're visiting Natchitoches during any time of year or during one of our many festivals or annual events in the area. And it's a fantastic place to stay. You definitely can get an overview of the movie and just get a feel for the family, for those powerful actors and actresses as they were filming that filming that story here, and knowing now, if you didn't, that it was an actual true story, that got turned into a movie in this little town. And by the way, the entire movie was filmed right here in Natchitoches. So that's fantastic in itself.
And we have the horse riding carriage tour. We have the Cane River Heritage area. We'll be doing walking tours. So there's a variety of ways. There's pedal and paddle sports. They can go out on the water on the Cane River and get out on the water. So we have a lot of different activities for people for the Cane River Film Festival so that they can enjoy themselves and do tours in different ways.
So everyone, again, for the festival, you can go to CaneRiverFilmFestival.com. Lastly, on that, I want to touch on that. If you go to Natchitoches.com and you go in the driving tour section, you can download these commemorative postcards of Steel Magnolias with, favorite sayings from the movie. But just real quick, Catherine, on this too, there were some other films filmed in the era. The Horse Soldiers. Didn't John Wayne star in that? Giddy up.
He absolutely did. So The Horse Soldiers was filmed in 1959. It was a war film starring John Wayne, Constance Towers, and William Holden. And part of the movie was filmed on location at Oakland Plantation, which is now a part of the Cane River Creole National Historical Park. And it's in the Cane River region along the Cane River Heritage Trail. And also we have the movie The Man on the Moon, which stars actress Reese Witherspoon in one of her, it may have been her youngest or her debut acting career, but she starred in that movie. It was filmed in the parish along Natchitoches, and it's a fantastic movie. I love The Man in the Moon. Reese Witherspoon did a fantastic job. It's kind of like a coming-of-age love story.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, and we got to give her props because as a woman in the film industry, she talk about kicking butt, man. She's doing it.
I agree. Absolutely.
Taking names too.
Yes.
I know.
Just saying. She's doing good. Yeah, I love to see this in women in film.
We also have the Cane River Film Festival. Is the Lieutenant Governor is one of our main sponsors, and we're also in the LouisianaTravel.com and their main calendar of events for 2018. So I was really excited to have that and have him involved in this.
Excellent. Before you both go, Catherine, I want to touch on some of the other events because we definitely celebrate film in Natchitoches, the Cane River Film Festival, the first annual one, and obviously there's a lot more that's going to happen with that through the years. But in March, I know you guys are all getting ready for Mardi Gras right now as we're talking.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. You know it.
Can't leave that out. You guys are getting ready, so the colors are flying.
They are already.
Get those beads out. I was thinking of you all with king cake. That there's that day you guys all have king cake, and I know it's all over Facebook. Everyone is eating.
Oh
king
yeah,
cake.
that's all it is. King cake, baby.
That sounds good to me. And meat pies. So it's another mouthful
always.
in Natchitoches. We like that.
And I love it because I'm new to all of that.
Oh, well, you got to. I mean, the thing about Natchitoches, by the time you leave, you can just roll down the Cane River.
I know, right?
Don't
we
go
tell
there.
people that all the time. You're going to be full, but hey, you'll love it and you'll remember it.
I know. Well, okay, wait. Before we get into we've got art along the bricks. We want to talk about that. But speaking of food, I was looking at this event, and it celebrates the culinary arts, but also the diversity of culture too, which I think is so. It ties into the film festival and what Natchitoches is, and I think that's something that we really need to celebrate, especially these days, is that celebration of diversity. And March 27th, I was seeing on your calendar, you have the International Festival of Cultures and Cuisines. Isn't that put on at the actual university, or what's happening with that?
Actually. Yeah, so actually it's put on by the Northwestern State University's Hospitality Management and Tourism and Culinary Arts program. It's a fantastic program, and what it does, it teaches students how to enter into the service industry and tourism industry field, which Louisiana is known in a fantastic manner for, has won awards for actually. And so this particular area is in reference to the culinary arts program. And so on March 27th, 4 to 6, along the historic district, there will be booths set up featuring themes from countries and cultures around the world. And so the students will be costumed, and they'll be serving international cuisine and have international entertainment. And so in a sense, guests can travel from country to country, sampling international foods prepared by those very same culinary arts students. So it's sure to be a treat, and so this is fantastic, and I continue to enjoy it as it grows and grows and grows. grows. And so hopefully, I know it's my thought that this International Festival of Cultures and Cuisines could possibly grow into like a full-day event, and hopefully that can happen within the next few years.
Sounds like fun to me. That's my thing. I once went to Epcot Center in Florida. When we first came back to this country, we were based in South Africa for many years and came back home and ended up at the Epcot Center, and it was one of the craziest things of my life. It was like this theme park, an international theme park for me, and I was like, this is the coolest thing. You go to literally every country or every continent, and you could eat, drink, watch something, or do some kind of ride.
I love
know,
it.
But I needed a cab driver after that, let me just tell you, because there was a lot of sampling to do of all kinds of things, and I was getting myself into trouble.
Well, then you had fun. Yeah.
It never left me. So as soon as I saw this on your calendar, I'm like, I want to go, because you guys have such good food, and I'm like, this is so cool. So that sounds exciting. Also, April 13th and 14th, listen, Natchitoches and Louisiana, you cannot go to the state without hearing really good music, and you have the Jazz R&B Festival. Where's that happening?
Absolutely. So this is it's 23rd. It's the 23rd annual Jazz R&B Festival, and it's all happening down on our newly renovated riverfront stage. All that area along Cane River has been redone, and it is fantastic. And so the Jazz R&B Festival will make their 23rd premiere there with an all-star lineup, actually, including Starship, the Ohio Players, and, of course, Wayne Toops. Got to have him.
Yeah, I like
I
this.
know.
And so when you do Art Along the Bricks, and I know there's also Bloomin' on the Bricks, so you have Art and Flower Power happening March 17th. So that's going to be along the same, because I know you guys were renovating that whole amphitheater area by the, along the river or the lake. To me, it looks like a river,
I know. Everyone, it's Cane River Lake. So, it's confusing, but it always makes for interesting conversation.
Yeah, so that's where that festival happens, right? So now it's going to be in a new place.
Art Along the Bricks and Blooming Along the Bricks is usually, and it may change, but it's usually held on Front Street, which is up above, sits atop the waterfront there, and so it's along those hand-laid bricks there. But there is some sort of entertainment or some sort of activity that will drive you down toward the riverfront. However, you may want to stay up top because you have all those beautiful plants getting you ready for spring. You have people, teaching you how to do things. You also have artists, local artists and regional artists selling their art, which is fantastic. I love to go to those types of events and pick out something, that's just kind of hidden, like you're finding a hidden gem and you're learning something new. And it's kind of like a rebirth and getting ready for all the festival and fun throughout the year.
Oh, I like it. And then when you look at this, too, to culminate what we're talking about just for the spring, because I know you got so many festivals, as I said at the beginning. Celebrate Nat, hashtag, just to really tie it all together. We've got to look here at Kelly's heritage here, and we were talking about Clementine Hunter and all of the arts in Melrose Plantation, April 21st and 22nd. This is the annual Melrose Arts and Crafts Festival. Is it? It's over 40 years this has been going.
It's 42 years. This is its 42nd annual Arts and Crafts Festival. And let me tell you, they're going strong. Last year, the cars were just ridiculous, and that's a great thing. That is a great issue to have. The cars along the Cane River area leading into Melrose Arts and Crafts Festival, over 100 and some vendors for 2 days, that Saturday and Sunday. From everything from paintings to jewelry to woodworking to arts. It's just and let's not forget the food. There are food vendors out there, and then you also get an opportunity to tour the home, to tour the Melrose home, but also you get to walk the beautiful grounds of the Melrose Plantation. And so it's like a win-win situation, food, arts and crafts, history, heritage. Who doesn't love
and
it?
those beautiful trees, those beautiful oak trees over there. I mean, it's yeah. I want to go. I want to come
right?
back. Well, we are coming back. We'll be back out your way in the late spring, so we're very excited to return to the region. And we got to sit down with you, Kelly. We got to go for a little tour. We got to do a film tour.
Absolutely.
We got to do that.
And what's really cool is on that Friday night on March 23rd, one location that we haven't mentioned is the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Museum. We're having the VIP Red Carpet Sponsors Ball. It's more of a networking meet and greet. We have some live jazz. But it's an opportunity, again, for people to come and see. And this is one of our newest locations, and to see, our history inside of the museum as well. And that's why I decided to have it at the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Museum. I thought it would be a great opportunity for people to tour that location.
Oh, absolutely.
And it just kind of gives you an open up Natchitoches to everyone to go to the School of Math, Science, and Arts, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame, Rue Beauport, our new Riverbank stage area that's been redone, and we can go to the Natchitoches Event Center, which is, it's all kind of in a circle, but it gives people to kind of travel around a little bit more and really take in Natchitoches.
Oh, absolutely.
Well,
and Kelly, you're really right. Really quickly, the Louisiana Sports Hall of Fame and Northwest Louisiana History Museum, when you say it, you don't think of it being a part of the arts, and it's not, but it's a venue that a lot of the arts in Natchitoches and the surrounding area use as a setting for their arts performances and or artistic type meetings or venues to showcase their work.
Yeah. Book readings, artists. They have the Clementine Hunter exhibit there. So many things there doing.
Excellent. Ladies, I appreciate you both joining us and telling us what's going on. In Natchitoches, of course, there's always something going on, and delving into this film history, geology, and not geology, genealogy. I'll get that
genealogy.
straight. And,
there you go.
More food.
Absolutely. All the time.
Eat,
so
drink.
Everybody,
this is what I call it. Eat, drink, and be merry.
Yes.
That's right. Well, we actually have a radio show called that, and we do it quite well. And Natchitoches definitely is one of those places to do it.
You should have us on that.
Okay. You can do that. I think we'll have to do that in person when we come to Natchitoches this year.
Oh,
that's
a great idea.
We can do a taste of Natchitoches very easily. You go to Louisiana's and have some of those grits.
I'm going to hold you to that. You should do a taste of Natchitoches. Yes, indeed.
Okay. No problem. And that means I get to have an Abita beer because I like that too. That's
wow.
good for you.
Yes, come on. We can handle it. Come
I
on.
know. I'll learn how to go jogging sometime in my life. I don't know. But in the meantime, I'll just, I'll step on in and roll on out.
There you go.
Well, everybody, again, the website's at Natchitoches.com, and that's NATCHITOCHES, Natchitoches.com. And also go to CaneRiverFilmFestival.com. Again, that's March 23rd to 24th, and definitely going to be a fantastic event, as you can hear. And, of course, you can find everything that we cover on Natchitoches if you go to NationalParkTraveling.com. Thank you so much, ladies.
Oh, you're more than welcome.
Lisa.
You have a great one.
You too. Enjoy that food for me.
Oh, I will.
We will.
Very cool.
Yeah.
I can't wait to get back up there.
I know. It's such a fun place.
I know. It's starting to get planned. The trip is happening.
It's happening.
We're going to be doing some historic trails up there, the El Camino Real de los Tejas Trail. We're going to go to Nacogdoches in Texas, from Nacogdoches to Natchitoches, Louisiana.
That's so odd.
I know, it's going to be fun. We're going to be doing that. But you know what? There's some more Hollywood history around Natchitoches and some of its neighboring communities. So have a listen to Steve Schneiker's Hollywood History on Central and Northwestern Louisiana. And it's also featured with some photos of the region and the film sites if you go to nationalparktraveling.com, and also have a look in the February-March issue of Parks and Travel magazine. Take a listen.
You're making movies, bum bum. You're making movies, bum bum, with stars and stories that will take one's breath away. Susan died in the fall of 1985. Pat, my ex-brother-in-law, he married 5 or 6 months after her death. The first time I heard my nephew call this other woman Mama was when I said, no, Susan can't disappear. Robert Harling grew up in Natchitoches, Louisiana, and lost his sister and best friend to diabetes in 1985. He turned that experience into the iconic stage play Steel Magnolias, which he wrote in about 10 days. Steel Magnolias is also a 1989 American comedy drama directed by Herbert Ross. It is the film adaptation of Robert Harling's 1987 play of the same name about the bond a group of women share surrounding the family experience during the death of Malin Eatonton's daughter Shelby. The movie is filmed in and around Natchitoches. A tour de force cast is assembled with Oscar winner Sally Field and Oscar winner Julia Roberts. Supporting cast includes Oscar winner Olympia Dukakis, Oscar winner Shirley MacLaine, Oscar nominee Dolly Parton, and Daryl Hannah. Even screenwriter Robert Harling appeared in the film as the preacher in the local church. The title, Steel Magnolias, suggests the main female characters can both be as delicate as the magnolia and as tough as steel. Quite a few films have been produced and filmed in and around northwestern and central Louisiana over the years, including The Horse Soldiers is a 1959 deluxe color war film set during the American Civil War. It was directed by Oscar winner John Ford and starred Oscar winners John Wayne and William Holden and Constance Towers. The film was based on Harold Sinclair's novel of the same name. The team of John Lee Mahan and Martin Rackett both wrote the screenplay and produced the film. Blaze is a 1989 film written and directed by Ron Shelton. The film stars Paul Newman and Lolita Davidovich. Blaze star herself appears in a cameo role. The film tells the highly fictionalized story of the latter years of Earl Long, a flamboyant governor of Louisiana and brother of assassinated governor and U.S. Senator Huey P. Long. According to the novel and film, Earl Long allegedly fell in love with a young stripper named Blaze Starr. "12 Years a Slave" is a 2013 historical drama film and an adaptation of the 1853 slave narrative memoir, 12 Years a Slave, by Solomon Northup, a New York State born-free African-American man who was kidnapped in Washington, D.C. in 1841 and sold into slavery. Northup worked on plantations in the state of Louisiana before his release. The locations used were four historic antebellum plantations: Felicity, Bocage, Destrehan, and Magnolia. Of the four, Magnolia is the nearest to the actual plantation where Northup was held. Directed by Steve McQueen and screenplay written by John Ridley, this powerful film won 3 Academy Awards: Best Picture, Best Adapted Screenplay, and Best Supporting Actress. I look forward to viewing more movies that are filmed in and around northwestern and central Louisiana. I am Steve Schneikert, and this is Hollywood History as I recall it.
Everyone for another segment of, or more segments, I should say, of Steve Schneickert's awesome Hollywood history. Go to blendradioandtv.com and look in our expert department and read the magazines. He's always in there. Good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I know.
Click on him.
Go click on Steve.
Yeah.
He'll smile. He's clickable. All right, we want to thank everyone for joining us, all of our guests, and thank you, listeners, as always. We will be back on Sunday, February 11th, 2018, because that's the year we're in, at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time. We're going to be having our Champagne Sunday show. Woo-hoo. So anything could happen. We're going to start with a little fitness, though. So we're going to be talking with Jason Karp, Dr. Jason Karp. He's going to talk about the benefits of running and how to get started.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to see if he's bringing a whole bunch of coffee and, I don't know, some prods. Some, chains to push and pull. I don't know. He's a crane. He might need a bulldozer. I don't know. He'll be joining us. He's known as the Chief Running Officer of Run-Fit.com. He's the creator of the Revolution Running Certification for fitness professionals and coaches, and he's the author of 8 books, including The Inner Runner, Run Your Fat Off, and Running a Marathon for Dummies.
Okay.
Yeah, he's a USA Track and Field certified coach. He's taught USA Track and Field's Level 3 coaching certification, and he's led elite coaching camps at the U.S. Olympic Training Center.
Ooh.
So he knows how to run.
I guess.
Yeah, and he knows how to tell us how to run. So I wish you luck.
Old whip.
Good luck, Jason. So we're looking forward to that. And then he's based in San Diego. We're going to hop over to Florida to Jacksonville, and we're going to chat with Gunboat Smith. No, he's not my relative, but you never know.
You never know.
You never know. He is from the Gunboat Diplomats, an indie music group out there, and they're known for their melodic music, rich in harmonies, and a distinctive vintage vibe.
All righty.
So he's going to talk about the group's latest album. I love their stuff. It's called Fine State of Affairs. And he's going to talk about this new singles for their upcoming album called Manifest Destiny. Yeah, they're into history. And I heard that he's not drinking champagne on our show.
Oh.
It might be a little on the bourbon side. And he's like, well, he's back east, so it's not going to be as early, for him. He's going to have an afternoon delight is what he's going to have.
What every Sunday needs.
That's what a Gunboat Smith, got to play the role. So that's what we'll be doing. And then we'll be primed after all our running and drinking of bourbon and listening to music for a burger. It's burger time. So Chef Ivan Flowers, a 5-star chef, will be back on the show teaching us how to grill the perfect burger, and he's going to share his mushroom provolone burger recipe.
Ooh,
I know, I love provolone
good.
cheese and mushrooms. Yeah. And we're going to close off with a little news from the Peanut Patch in Yuma, Arizona, they have these free tours every few months, and so Donna George will talk about what you get to see and experience. There's peanut butter, there is peanut brittle, there's homemade fudge, there's delicious mujol dates. There's all kinds of stuff involved. All I can tell you, it is 100% big delicious with a big, big capital D. So there.
Cool.
Yeah. So get on out there. So that's Champagne Sundays. Again, February 11th. We start live at 11 a.m. Pacific Time, 2 p.m. Eastern Time, of course. You can listen to us anytime. We're here live on Blog Talk Radio, and we are available all over the place, from Spreaker and YouTube to iTunes, TuneIn, Stitcher, all those places. The best thing to do to connect with all those different outlets is go to bigblendradio.com. You'll also see our upcoming shows there. And you can connect to all our social media like Twitter. We're at Big Blend Mag, and Facebook under Big Blend Radio and TV Magazine. And when you're there, sign up for newsletters so you can get our magazines in your email box. You'll get articles. You'll get recipes. You'll get interviews, all kinds of good stuff.
All right.
So check it out. Go to bigblendradio.com. So we're going to close with some good music.
Cool.
So, we've been in Mississippi. We've been talking about snakes and the Amazon. We've been talking about Louisiana, So I'm thinking the song should be Swamp Thing.
All right.
And we had Hollywood history, so that, makes me think of
it's
swampy creature from the Black Lagoon, or Swampy, who killed Virginia Woolf.
The creature
from the Black Lagoon got Virginia Woolf. And then there's leeches on the African Queen.
That's right.
Apparently. Okay, so that's how it rolls here. Everyone, Swamp Thing is off of the latest album called Badass Generation from Paul Nelson, who is an incredible guitarist, and it's his band, Paul Nelson Band. You can go to paulnelsonguitar.com, touring all over the place, and, he's Grammy Award-winning, and he was a protege for Johnny Winters. So good stuff. So you want to hear his interview with us, go to blendradioandtv.com. But here it is, Swamp Thing. Happy Friday.